me, it's been more recent than you. Christian, I have a history with Pac-Man World. Did you know that?
No.
Did
Tell
I
me,
ever
tell
tell
me
you
your
my history
history
with
of
Pac-Man World?
Pac-Man World.
Okay, so my history with Pac-Man World is years ago. My
Okay.
friend had the original Pac-Man World on the PlayStation,
Yes.
and
Okay.
growing up, he and I would play the original Pac-Man World on the PS1 quite a lot. And can I just say, it is one of the most frustrating bullshit games that has ever been made.
Uh,
Ever.
I haven't
It's
played the first one.
awful.
To be completely clear, I've never played the first one. I do really want
Not
to
awful. It's not.
because spoiler alert for
Yeah.
the video here for the podcast here.
Uh-huh.
I kind of like Pac-Man World 2. Like it's a
Yeah.
bit nostalgia. Some of it definitely comes from that because I spent a lot of
Okay.
time playing this game as a kid. But I
Okay.
played it, a couple months ago or whatever for the stream, and I
Uh-huh.
actually enjoyed it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Uh-huh. It's really good. It fixes all of the issues that Pac-Man World 1 has. So Pac-Man World 1 suffers from mainly control and camera issues. That's number one. And number two is there's just sections that have unnecessary ramps and difficulty just kind of out of nowhere. Like the boss on the third world for Pac-Man 1, the Pac-Man World 2. Oh my goodness.
Which one?
Let me get my thoughts in order.
Pac-Man
Pac-Man
World
World
1, 2?
1 has a world in space, and the boss of that world is a big floating spaceship. You have to do a 3D Galaga section as Pac-Man, which is really cool. And then at the end, you have to fight the mothership, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
a big
Mm-hmm.
mothership with 4 eyes, and you have to shoot all the eyes, and that's and then you kill the main thing. But it has phases, and it's sending minions at you, and it is the most frustrating and difficult boss fight that I have ever done. and
I have no
it
idea what you're talking about. I've never
I know,
played it.
I know.
I thought.
I'm just saying. I have such personal history. I have
Okay.
beef.
Okay.
Okay, I
Okay.
have beef. I had a score to settle. I wanted
All
I
right.
wanted this game to prove something to me. Okay,
Did
I
it
wanted to.
prove it to you? Tell us. Tell us. Like let's
Okay,
talk about Pac-Man World 2. Is it
right. What
better?
we're here to talk about. Yes,
Okay.
Pac-Man World 2 is far better. First of all, as you can see if you're watching the video, they have fixed the camera movement. My goodness. It moves like a normal third-person adventure game,
To be
which
clear,
is
it's still
great.
not perfect. Like
No.
it works well in most situations, but there are definitely situations where it will awkwardly move from one perspective to another, like from behind you, like zoomed out over the shoulder thing to like top down or side view or something like that. Like it does suddenly and kind of just like in your face change itself, and sometimes that doesn't work out too well. And every once in a while, whenever you try to spin the camera around, there are some obstacles that are really close to objects in the world, and that makes it very difficult to maneuver the camera. Like it's
Yeah.
not a perfect game, but it does
Sure.
work,
No.
at least as far as the camera goes. What else?
Yeah,
What else compared to
I
Pac-Man
had
World?
I had a good amount of graphical glitches as well when it comes to camera movements and
In
things like
Pac-Man
that.
World
Uh-huh.
2, I mean, like the second one?
Yeah, but that's mostly because of how I was playing it. I was
Oh,
trying to
okay.
like really scour the environment and get every tiny little secret detail that I could
Oh,
find.
okay.
So I was moving in really awkward positions that probably weren't intended.
Okay.
So
Because I
I
mean,
was I had a
remember
few of those, but not
I don't
many.
remember seeing any in my time playing it. I'm sure there were some, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember any.
It was just
Um,
like you said, the camera getting stuck, so it like kind of clipped through the side of the
Fair
hillside
enough.
or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Such
Um,
a big problem with early 3D games. But what else? What else did it change from Pac-Man World 1 that you feel for the better?
well, so most of the mechanics are exactly the same, honestly. You do the butt bounce, you do the power roll where you like rev up in a little circle and then you shoot out like a little ball, kind of like ukulele. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got your I don't know if you can do the pellet attack in this game like you could do in the first one. At
I
least I haven't
think you
experienced it yet.
you can in certain situations. Do
Can you?
you mean where
Okay.
like you eat a pellet and it just makes and you just follow the trail of other pellets till you get to the
No.
end or whatever? Or okay, what's the
In
pellet
the first
attack?
game, you could use the pack pellets you collect as ammo for shooting them.
Oh,
You could
okay.
throw them with your hands, and they would like make a beam of light and hit enemies.
Oh, do you just like Kamehameha wave dudes or something?
Well, not as extreme. Just kind of like imagine the size of the pack pellet that you collect in the game. You just throw that as a projectile,
Okay.
and
I don't remember that
the
ever being a thing.
but
I
but you
have
don't
beaten
like
Pac-Man World 2, but it was a long
okay,
time ago that I beat it whenever I was,
okay.
quite young.
But you don't like you don't just kind of toss it or like throw it at an arc. You kind of like beam it at the ground like you're spiking a football after a touchdown.
Oh,
It's weird.
okay. I have no
I'd
idea
have,
what you're talking about.
I'd have to show you
Anyways,
at some
though,
point.
so Pac-Man
Yeah,
World 2. Um,
other than that, you collect wedges of your pie to get extra life, just like in the first game. You collect the fruit in the level. The big difference, I think, is that the first game is structured a little bit more like maybe like Crash Bandicoots, the way the level is structured. It's a little bit more closed off. Oftentimes, the levels are almost 2.5D, just because of the way that it goes. So this is much more 3D and much more 3D adventure, Banjo Kazooie, Mario, like a 3D adventure game. You know,
sure. Yeah.
the
Okay.
first one was a little bit more structured as
Okay.
far as how it's laid out.
Okay. What were something? Well, let me say some things that I like about Pac-Man
Yeah,
first. How about that? I
yeah, yeah.
I like the aesthetic. Honestly,
Hmm.
I've gone on record many times as saying I much prefer stylized aesthetics to realistic
Yep.
aesthetics in 90 some percent of cases. Like it just works better, it holds up a lot better
Right.
basically every time. And I think
Hmm.
they did a really good job of making this game look nice, especially for the time. Like it holds up to this day and still looks really clean and crisp. The
It
only
does.
problem, like the only thing that they say they were to make this game right now, the only thing I would expect them to really change graphically is having just more detail, right?
Yep.
Like more little foliage, instead of the
Hmm.
grass just being like a texture on the ground, maybe it being a short grass you actually walk through, stuff like that.
Right.
But like as far
Hmm.
as the models and the colors and everything go, it
Oh
looks
yeah.
fine. Like I have no complaints about it. Like
Hmm.
it is, I do think it's a good looking game.
Yeah.
The level variety too, for me personally, is pretty nice, honestly. Like you have your standard kind of levels, and then you have levels where you're bouncing around a lot, and you have like levels with some mix of puzzles and things. There's some underwater sections. Like they hit that kind of
Right.
mix of stuff to do.
Right.
They did really well with a mix, I guess. Say
Yeah, and that's
there
something
as
they did
well.
well with the first game as well. The variety between worlds were great, as is the case with most world games that use the world moniker or
Hmm.
land, something like that. Usually they have a good variety to their levels, right? Like in the first game you had the I haven't explored much of this one, so I'm actually not sure what the different ones are. I spent a long time on the first level. I'm so embarrassed. I
I
kept
mean,
dying.
if
It's
you're
so
watching
ridiculous.
if you're watching the stream or the video, you'll notice that I also spent a ridiculous amount of time in the
It's true,
beginning of
yeah.
the game here. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily because I kept dying for me, it's just because I really wanted
no.
to get everything in this first area,
Yeah,
and
I
I
was
did
doing the same
eventually
thing.
give up, but like
Okay. Yeah, but it was the same thing for me, but in the first one you had like a space world, you had a clown world, you had the regular Pac-Man style world, where it's all green grass and things, and you had a nice variety. You had a ghost world. It was all like spooky, kind of like the castles in Mario.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was really cool. Speaking of spooky, the main villain in this game is named Spooky. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Yeah, that's in the opening. If you watch the
I
opening cutscene, if you
I'm sure
suffer
I
through
did
the
see
opening
it, but I
cutscene,
forgot.
that's my
Like,
only
yeah.
complaint with this game, Christian, is that the opening cutscene goes on for about 20 minutes. But all the ghosts steal something from. They try to steal fruit from the tree, I think, and when they do that, they unwittingly unleash Spooky upon the world. And
Oh
then your
no.
your grandpa has an adorable and hilarious scene with you where he's trying to explain the dire need of this mission, and he says, "Pac-Man, you must collect all the things in order to stop
Uh,
Spooky."
Can we just
And you're
take
like,
like 1 second to mention the fact that there was a point in time when they tried to make Pac-Man into like a whole franchise of
"Yeah,
things. Like
yeah,
instead of it just being a video
uh-huh,
game, they tried to
yeah,
turn it into like a TV show and spin-off games and all of
right,
this stuff. Tried to give Pac-Man like lore, and
No.
it's like I think it
But
was a bit much, guys, to be
But I
honest.
mean but I mean, hey, at the same time, it kinda worked. Like,
I
most people I talk to remember playing one of the Pac-Man worlds when they were young.
Sure, the
You and I
games.
both have a memory of that weird Pac-Man Land
Oh
game
my lord, I love that
that
game.
you played on
I've
the
never
SNES
beaten
and I
more than
played on
like
the
2
Genesis.
levels, but I
Right.
love that game.
I made it pretty far when I was a kid. I
I
remember, making it a decent amount, and I don't
I
remember
think
why.
I might have got to the section after the hang glider, and after that, like, that's it. But that's a completely
Really?
different game. Anyways,
It is. Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't know, man. Like, the games are fun. I've never played a Pac-Man game that I didn't enjoy. I'm sure there are bad ones out there, like maybe Pac-Man World 1, but
Right.
in general though the games are good, but like the comics and the TV shows and stuff like that, was it
Right,
really
yeah.
necessary? I don't think so.
Um No, but I
Like,
mean, like, if you're Namco and you're a one-trick pony, what else are you gonna do?
they're not really that, like, they had all those different arcade games that they could have tried to flesh out and turn into to
Yeah,
whatever. Like,
yeah, but
sure, I
then
don't know how Namco would have gotten into the TV movie biz,
right,
but like they could have done stuff with video games and been just fine.
yeah,
But
that's
they
true,
didn't.
and
Instead, they
I guess
decided to make Pac-Man the
well,
TV show.
they probably missed their chance. I mean, because what the first Pac-Man game was what, 79 or 80, and then the subsequent 3, like Pac-Mania and Miss Pac-Man, I think came out, like, right after. Like, they put all their chips onto Pac-Man
Yeah.
and won. They won big. So they wanted to, you know I
But
think
that
that's probably
success
what
could
ended
only
up
last so long. Like,
right. Yeah.
and
They they
as
couldn't
history has
just
shown.
yeah, some people can pull it off. Mr. George Lucas famously pulled it off with Star Wars, right? But
Did he though?
not
I would
everything
say
is
Disney pulled it off with Star Wars.
well, I mean, I guess if we're going for massive media franchises, but Star Wars has been huge forever, I guess. I
Yeah, but
mean,
I mean, it was basically dead. Besides a few video games and the spin-off
that's
books that
true.
not that many people
Before
read,
Disney bought it,
it
yeah,
was basically dead
for
before
sure.
Disney. But
Yeah.
as far as Pac-Man World goes, though,
All right,
like I said,
Pac-Man
I
World
actually
2.
really enjoyed it. I played it a lot growing up. Right, I beat the game
Yeah.
growing up. I want to say I 100%ed it, but I don't remember if that's true for sure or not.
Okay.
I honestly just don't have that many complaints other than, like I said, the camera can be a little bit jank at times. Some of the
Yeah.
enemy placement is cheap. But I
Uh-huh.
think it legitimately has some fun puzzles. I think the
Mhm.
jumping and running around is fun. It works
Oh, yeah.
well, you know?
It's pretty fluid.
Like,
Mhm.
it's a good game, honestly, and like you said, I know if you bring it up to people, it seems like most people have played one or two of the games,
Yeah.
right? Or at least a large amount. But I
Uh-huh.
never hear anyone just talking about Pac-Man 1 or 2.
No.
Like,
No, not
it's not a
really.
game that ever comes up, like, in fond memories of gaming or anything, but I have fond memories of playing
Yeah.
Pac-Man World 2, and I think more people should give it a chance, honestly, if you're into retro, because
Yeah.
it's a fun game.
It is. Yeah, it's a decent franchise, like we said. I think there were 3 of them at
I
least,
believe you're
if not
right. I
more.
believe you're I think
Um,
3 is where
I
it stopped.
yeah, I know there's at least 3. And I definitely preferred this over the first one. So, please
I wanna
consider
play it
checking
so
out
bad.
Pac-Man World 2 and 3.
I wanna play it so bad. As
Mostly
soon as I
because
can get my hands on it, I
okay,
wanna know
okay,
now. Like,
that's fine. I'll play it again. Listen, I beat the game, Christian. I did.
oh, nice, nice. Pac-Man World
Yeah.
1. Very cool, very
Yes,
cool.
I have beaten Pac-Man World 1, so I will play it. I'm a master now. Because I went back and it was one
Oh,
of those grudge games you had to go back and
you
beat as
know,
an adult because it
there
was
is
too hard as
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it's I was just gonna say it's one of those grudge games, you have to go back and beat as an adult because it was too hard as a kid, like, one of
Yeah.
those kinda things.
The only one of
Alright, so
those I had was, well, I guess Metroid and both of those. I don't really know if it was a grudge thing. It was just like, hey, I really enjoyed these games as a kid and never beat them. I could probably do that now and then did.
mhm,
But anyways, no, what I was gonna say. The one other thing, I was watching the stream like as the video's playing back, and I saw myself struggling to collect the pellets that are laid around the world, which are like your equivalent of coins or whatever from a Mario game. And obviously, if you've ever played anything Pac-Man, his relation with pellets.
right,
And
and
that is
keystones.
one other small annoyance that I have with the game. I wish the area to pick up the pellets was a little bit larger, or you could lock on to the pellets to collect them or something like that. Because whenever there's a big long line of them, it can be kind of annoying with early analog controls to stay on a straight perfect enough line, or to follow the line perfectly enough to collect all of them in one pass. And it just
Right.
kind of annoys me whenever I have to go back 2 or 3 times to collect that one pellet that I missed or what. And so I do wish like the area of effect for collecting that was maybe a little bit larger. But of course, in Pac-Man, he eats the pellets, so
Right.
without, I think maybe they could have like added a button to lock on to the pellets or something, so
Fair.
you could still control like the rate of your movement, but you would follow the line of the pellets, maybe something like that. I don't know. I think maybe they could have done that a tiny bit, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I definitely see what you're going from. I think I would have preferred maybe just like a camera shift. Like you could like pull the camera up to bird's eye or something, and then move around like an actual Pac-Man game.
yeah, I mean, I think that would have made it a little bit easier,
They have
but
puzzles like that in the game,
they
and
do.
they
Yes, they
are
do.
replayable later on. You can go to the arcade, which is something I did want to actually bring up. Every
Yeah, yeah.
Pac-Man
Thank you.
game that I have ever played has had some capability of playing the original Pac-Man game. The Pac-Man Land game, I know you probably don't know about this because you said you didn't make it far, but later in the game, once you reach the actual city, there's an arcade just like in this game where you can go in and play the original Pac-Man.
Oh, very
Um,
cool. Very cool.
yeah, and then something like that exists in the first Pac-Man World one, the first Pac-Man World game as well. And then Namco has made it. Namco has just made it very easy to play their original arcade classic as it was originally
Honestly,
presented.
though, thank you for that. Like, for real though,
Yeah.
a lot of
Hmm.
video game companies just treat their older games like shit. Like, just give you no
Right.
way to legit play them unless you
Uh-huh.
either are willing to spend the time and money, which for a lot of people is just not reasonable to collect all of this ancient gaming hardware, or pirate. Like those are really your only options. Looking at you, Nintendo, they've gotten better
Uh-huh.
at this recently. Or PlayStation, Sony, one of my favorite consoles in gaming, universes, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Sony has made it so hard to go back and play a lot of their classic games because the PS4 and the PS5 are not backwards compatible with PS4, PS2, or PS3. So if you want to play like a PS1 game, you have to hope that they have re-released it for sale digitally on the PlayStation 4 or 5, which is just ridiculous. Like, why, if I own a disc from when I was a child, can I not just pop it into my console? And I imagine it has something to do with being able to check to make sure to copy of the game or something. I don't know, but the console is capable of playing PS1 games. Clearly,
Yeah.
it is more than powerful enough to do so. Why
Right.
not enable it? Like, it
It
irritates the hell
wouldn't be
out of me.
that. It
And
wouldn't be that
Nintendo for a
difficult to
long
do
time
either.
too was really bad about it. It's just,
Yeah.
it should not be so hard to play these retro games. So I'm really glad that Namco has taken the time to, in one way or another, make their games available. It sucks that you have to, buy Namco Collection X to play these by, giving them more money. But at least there's a legit way that I can go back and play all this shit if I want it.
Right.
I prefer, even if it's like I have to spend $5-10 or something like that, I prefer that to just being like either pirate it or spend $500 buying ancient hardware.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
so
So
yeah.
yeah, other companies are good at keeping up with their games because they care about. But as far as the Sony thing goes,
Can we?
I get Nintendo to a point, right? Because like the new console that they have out right now uses like a version of an SD card to hold the game, but PlayStation has always used. You
Yeah.
can make the PS5 play these games, man. You can do it. Just do it. Just let us play all the games. I agree with Christian. Bring them all back. I want to be able to do it. They used to. The PS2 could play PS1 games, and then the first PS3 could play like a lot
Well,
of stuff
the
that
the
you told me.
PS3, actually every PS3 can play PS1.
Right,
And then the first gen and second gen
right.
PS3 could play
PS2.
PS2. Yeah, one of them was full console compatibility. The other one was a mix
Yeah,
of emulation, real hardware. But
right.
regardless, like every PS3 can play PS1 at least. But as soon as the PS4
Hmm.
came out, they killed all backwards compatibility that wasn't digital down them,
Yeah,
which sucks.
which
And
is
like they're
silly
working
because
on fixing that a
they can
little bit with
play
their new PlayStation Now Plus service package thing that they're doing. Like they're
right,
fixing it a
but
little bit, but that's still a very limited number of titles compared to, the PlayStation 2 has 1700 some games. The PS1
right.
has like 1,000.
Mhm.
Like, guys, just let me
And
put in my fucking disc.
right. And like what a missed opportunity for profit. Because
Yeah.
like hey, we're Sony. Sell us back your PS2 games. We'll sell them on our new marketplace, right?
Right.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
and
Like
that's
the
where a lot
PS5
of it
can
comes
play
down to
all 5
is
generations of
licensing.
PlayStation. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
licensing.
as far as the digital copies go, a lot of it comes down to that. But if they would just enable you to put in a disc, then that wouldn't be an issue anymore. They don't have to care about what this company wants to license or doesn't, because hey, they're just putting in their disc of a game that they already own, and we're letting them
It's
play it.
all
That's
it's
yeah.
all money.
But
Shitting out a new
anyways,
copy of Madden every year is far more profitable. That's all.
oh god, I can't even. People who actually buy like every year of sports games, like, like
Well,
a lot of times you could literally get the new content of another sports game with just a
right,
patch that gives you whatever roster of players with their new stats. Or some of the
right.
games, like I think it's the FIFA games on Switch, or maybe it was a different one. I don't remember, but they're called Legacy Edition games because it literally is just like 1 or 2 generations back of whatever sports game with a patch up, and they're charging full price for it.
Yeah,
Like, that is ridiculous. Let me pay $5 to just get a DLC so I can use the new roster of
exactly.
players or whatever. Like, that is
And or
ridiculous, guys.
season passes. I mean, how
Yeah.
profitable is Fortnite?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And they offer the main experience of their game for free, and then they
Yep.
just charge the shit out of you for everything else. So just do that. They
Yep.
make it work. But people do it, Christian. People line up, and not just 50
I
or
don't get it.
$60 for a
I don't
game.
get it.
We're talking
70
70 or
now.
80.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
buy like the special edition, it
for
can
the
be
new
like up to
sports game.
100 or something like that. But
Yeah,
I
up to
just,
100
I
bucks
don't
for all
understand it.
the bells and whistles. I mean, who
We're getting
forget
pretty
season
sidetracked
passes?
here.
Yeah,
One of the viewers just mentioned that a lot of Madden fans probably look at Pokemon in a similar way, and
true.
maybe, but and Pokemon game from game is pretty similar, but
Yeah.
like, I
Well,
don't
not
know,
the new
you get a
one,
whole new world
brand
to
new one.
explore.
Right.
You get new trainers, new story and whatnot. Now, like, sure,
It's
it's an
important to the
apt
Pokemon line.
comparison, I would say, but I would
Yeah.
still say that Pokemon to Pokemon game is more new content than Madden in most cases. Some Madden games or sports title here do certainly add like new games like that. Like, we just played this
Yeah.
NASCAR game the other day that actually had like a pretty interesting story mode to it, for instance. So like I
Oh,
mentioned,
fun.
that was a pretty big departure from the NASCAR game before it. So in that situation, sure, whatever. But a lot of them literally roster
You
swaps
remember,
essentially, and just
you
like
remember when Need for Speed tried to add a story mode?
yeah. Would
That
do you
was,
mean
Need for
Underground
Speed
or
Rivals.
Rival? I don't know if I
Um,
played Rival
I
because
I had,
Underground has.
oh, okay. I didn't play that one, but I got
You should. It's a lot of
the
people
story
consider it
mode
one of the
on.
best.
Really? Because I love the Need for Speed driving games. I like driving games in general, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to because I'm supposed to prefer quality entertainment, but
No, there's nothing wrong. I love Gran Turismo.
yeah,
I love those games.
they're
That one
cool.
NASCAR game is actually pretty fun, and Need for Speed games in general, I have fun with. Like,
Yeah,
they're good
yeah, but
games, man. Like,
they
well, not
are.
all of them, but a lot of them are.
Need for Speed Rivals was good, but the story was really, really weird, and
I
it
played
makes you
Hot
participate
Pursuit.
in it right away.
I played Hot Pursuit on the GameCube for probably like a good 30 and like I just
Really?
like
Nice.
it's there's some good games. But anyway, so Pac-Man World 2, trying to get us back on track a little bit. Jonathan, do you have any closing statements? Anything that really irked you or that stood out to you that you really liked that you want to mention sign off?
Not really. I think that's probably why we've gotten so distracted this episode, Christian, is because
Yeah.
there's
It's a
not too much to
game
say.
that doesn't get the recognition that maybe it should have, but
Right.
at the same time, it's not. I wouldn't say it's outstanding in regard,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. I
Like
would play
other.
just one more level.
Yes, same. I would definitely play just one level. I plan on recompleting it at some point.
Mhm.
But like, just give it a try. Give it a try. I think it's a fun
Sure.
time, man. If you have a PS2 thing to play it, because as we were talking about, backwards compatibility is ass for Sony. So
Yes. Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Anyways, those guys.
Anyways,
Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the podcast. We will be
right?
back again in a week or more with something. I don't know what yet. We'll figure that out. But I do appreciate
Yeah,
you all coming out and hanging out.
absolutely. And until next time, guys, you didn't have to stick by us and watch our episode or listen to it, but you did, so we appreciate it. And thank you.
Thank
Have
you
a good
all.
day, everyone.
Bye bye. And as always, be kind.